It's like, oh crap. So I run in here, like stumble in here half asleep, and like turn on the Zoom. It's like, where's everybody? What's going on? And then I look, and it was like 11:09. So whatever was going on in my stove,
That's funny.
yeah, had me a little freaked out. Hello, everybody. This is Justin with Masonic Improvement, joined with the one and only Dennis Yates, the legend himself. And
Hello, friends and brothers, and welcome to Masonic Improvement with all of our inner circle members, or some of our inner circle members.
Mm-hmm. Yep. How is everybody tonight?
Good.
Good. Just good.
A little tired, a little wired.
Oh yeah.
I on Friday, about the middle of the day, I got a call out on some damaged cable that knocked out like 5 different towers and 20 other important customers that only work on a certain type of circuit. And man, I was up for 32 hours straight
What day was
working on that Friday.
Oh,
and I finished it yesterday night at about well, actually it's longer than 32 hours. It was tough.
Dealing with that colored spaghetti.
Yes.
Yeah. So what happened?
This was colored glass.
What happened to it? Why did it get all messed up?
Fucking shredder going down the highway hits one of the handholds and it sucks up all of the cable. And this one is 144 pair fiber, right? Well, if you think about it, so in the old telephone days, you could feed an entire city with telephones on one fiber strand. And so you think about the speed that's capable of coming to you at your house, all you people out there with fiber at your house. You could power a city with communications. If we had the equipment to actually create that are aerial, some that are buried, and you get somebody, some county mower out there that doesn't care about his job or anything like that and runs over everything that's in its way and just tears it all to shreds. And the bad thing is that normally, it only takes a little bit to splice fiber, right? It doesn't take that long. Well, this was damaged in many locations. And so I was going up and down the highway for 2 days straight, basically so it was 36 flagged hours of work, and that was continuous work, not stopping. And that was through thunderstorms and everything. I mean, trying to find this stuff and measure it out, find it, fix it, remeasure, find the next bad spot. And the guy that I was with told me, he said, man, how do you decide, what you're going to do? How do you have I said, you just do the first one and then fix the next problem. That's all you can do. There's not a master game plan really when it's spread that far down a highway. I mean, all you can do is just fix the next problem, because you're not going to run a whole new strand of cable that took 3 months for a crew of 10 people to originally put in. It's just not going to happen. So all you can do is just work it, fix it, test. Work it, fix it, test.
Sounds like a life lesson tied in there somewhere.
Right? Yeah.
Well, I think a lot of people, when they realize how much memory work and stuff there is, because, for their degrees, they get intimidated. They're like, well, that's just too much. Kind of like, because I was thinking as you're talking about, I was like, that sounds awful. There's no way. There's no way I could do that, because I would look at like the amount of distance that this is covering and the amount of time.
Yeah.
And I'd just be like, no.
Well, nope. And the major corporations that are depending on you And the fact that your company is being charged back for every minute that you don't have that fixed, your company is getting charged back thousands upon thousands upon thousands of dollars. That's why that's why when somebody does make that mistake, it's a minimum of a $20,000 hit to whoever breaks it, and then it just goes up from there depending on the severity of it.
Yeah.
So this one could bankrupt the county.
County mower is just like, I'm only getting paid to go from here to here.
Exactly.
I'm not dodging anything.
He's quitting before yes, exactly. That's exactly right. He didn't care about his job to begin with.
Yeah.
It's just, think he cares now?
Yeah.
I'm out. But yeah, you're right. I mean, sometimes that's basically what it is. That's what life is just and you know, it's interesting you say that about the degrees, but if you think about life in general, that's all it is at least really for men, that's really all it is in our heads, because we're made square, like waffles. So we're like a grid. So
let me shut my door. Keep talking.
Go ahead. It's just one thing happens and we address it, and then it's just on to the next thing. Life is a series of struggles, not necessarily good or bad or anything like that, but just a series of struggles and of opposite force. There's force and then the opposite force, and that's what creates the meaning. If you don't have the that opposite force in there, then you don't have that. It doesn't create that meaning. I can't read that. I don't have my glasses on. A series of labors. Yes. See, that's why we have our inner circle here.
But it's like, and maybe you said this as I stepped up.
12 labors of Hercules. Listen to, I knew, yes, I knew there was somewhere I heard that. And then, yes.
Should write a book about that, Jason.
Yeah, Jason Reichenberg is on the show here. If y'all say something so that the screen will move over to you.
Yeah, but I prefer to harass in the background. That way I say the good guy on camera, but in the background.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So Jason wrote a book on Freemasonry and the 12 labors of Hercules, and did a comparison in that, and he always does a really good job whenever he writes a paper or anything, with contrast and comparison of ideals versus stories that have been out there in that are pre-existing stories. And so if you're into Hercules or you're into Freemasonry, go get his book. It's available on Amazon.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And I actually that's what I did today. So I got invited to be a lecturer on I'm not going to say it right, but the Sapar Ade lecture series. I don't know if you guys have seen that. Chris Williams did it 2 times, and there's been a few others, but they do everything. He is a Freemason, and a lot of it centers around Freemasonry. But I mean, he's had lecturers from all over the world on just about every single kind of esoteric, mystical Freemason topic and stuff like that. So that's what I did this morning at noon, was an hour lecture, which I've never done before. So that was unique, and then an hour Q&A on the book and everything like that. And so that was.
They had an hour's worth of questions.
Normally, an hour discussion.
Wow, that's good.
Well, if you had read the book, you would have known why there was an hour's worth of questions. I'm just kidding.
Oh, wow.
No, it's a great book. It's a great book.
And they were first off, and I thanked them afterwards, and they did kind of go easy on some of the questions and stuff like that, because I have not been doing this for very long. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, and so there's still a lot that I'm learning and don't understand about a lot of these, especially esoteric topics and stuff like that. And so I appreciated them not fact checking me. That was a
Mm.
good thing. Because
Well, that's why they've never invited me on at all, because they fact checked me ahead of time and said, no, he's not coming on our show.
right. I mean, maybe. But no, it was good. I mean, there was and actually Brad Hoff got on there for a little while. I don't know when he came on, because I didn't see him till right as I was logging off, and I saw that he was on the Zoom meeting.
Mm.
But most of them were from. I mean, most of them from around the world. Actually, I got a message from a guy from the Grand Lodge of Sierra Leone, and he's interested in our online Phoenix Academy. And he gave me the name of his lodge, because I said, send me your lodge and Grand Lodge, because I want to make sure if we allow him to be on, that he's
Yeah, you
in
need to go
amity.
through the proper channels.
Correct. Yeah. So I haven't had a chance to look at it, but regardless, I mean, it's still interesting that I mean, they're from around the world. The guy who runs the Facebook page and the channel and all that kind of stuff is actually out of Germany, and so there's a lot of different people from around the world. So it was interesting.
Sounds fun, man. Sounds fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
What's up, Double D?
What's going on, gents?
As you were talking about her. Oh, sorry, not much, Daniel. Sorry, my brain was already locked into something. But as you're talking about Hercules, I started thinking about Samson. Biblically, he was the one that was blind, right? Didn't he get his eyes gouged out?
Yeah, after he got his hair cut.
Yeah, he got his hair cut, his eyes were gouged out, and at the very end, he found himself couldn't see, and at the very end of the story, he found himself between two large pillars that he pushed out. So I was just thinking, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I was wondering if anyone had looked into that, but overall, it sounds like no. So what Zoom was that for again? Do you say that was?
I'm gonna pronounce it wrong. It's Sapere Audi Lectures.
Mm.
I'll put
Sapere Aude.
I'll put the
SAPRE.
Yeah, it's Latin. It means something like dare to know, or something like that.
Man, it even sounds fancy. Yeah, I'll have to check that.
I'm in those upper spheres.
You're in the upper echelon now.
It means dare to know. That's what it was. Yeah.
Well, very cool. We almost called this show Masonic Improvement to make it sound more fancy, but we didn't.
Yeah, but everybody saw me and they thought, oh, this is just another improv.
Masonic Improvement.
Yeah. Jason, I'm messaging you the email of our hold on just a second. Of our it's our fraternal relations for I just want to make sure.
Oh yeah, that's right. Jeremy Fraser, right?
No.
No.
I just put it in the message deal. Since we're live, I wasn't gonna put it all out there.
Man, he's in everything now.
He's always been. You just hadn't been.
Yeah, I guess. That's true.
Funny. Not all of us are all the time.
Yeah. Tom,
but there you go.
Tom, that
He can check and tell you real quick.
never. I'll message you later, Tom. It's about a degree. I don't know if it's the same degree that we had talked about, but there's another one in Waco coming up, I assume. So I'll send you the info if you want it. I won't be there. It's in the middle of the week.
So what was the name of that Zoom again? And what does it mean? I just want to hear you mess it up one more time.
Yeah, thanks. It's called the Virtual Order of Sapere Aude, and it's a Latin phrase meaning "dare to know" or "dare to be wise."
Ooh,
And
nice.
mine was number 450. Something about it was recorded, so it will be posted, but I think right now they're only doing it through Patreon. I think something like that.
Oh, okay.
They had something happen with their YouTube channel or something like that. So they said they're working on that, but it'll be on their Patreon.
Nice.
Yeah.
So with that being said, what is something in Freemasonry that you now know that if you had known, you might not have joined?
I'll let y'all answer
Bueller.
that first.
Bueller.
All right, before you Bueller us, you got to repeat the question, Dennis, so that way we all heard it.
Oh, okay, okay. So clean out your ears, Father Time.
No, it's more my brain that needs cleaning out.
Okay, okay. If there's something that you knew about Freemasonry, something that you know today about Freemasonry, if you had known that when you joined, you might not have joined.
I'll go. I will say.
There we go. All right.
And I was talking to somebody who's interested in Freemasonry today about this. Had I known that I need, well, I'm going to phrase this maybe differently. Different answer.
Okay. Yeah.
More like what I wish I had done, right? Or let me rephrase. Had I known what my lodge focus was, as far as what their masonry was, I would have joined a different lodge. I would have been raised in a different
That's
lodge.
a good one. That's a good one.
I would have sought out a more esoterically minded lodge to begin with. I would have gone to multiple lodges, and I would have interviewed them as much as they were interviewing me, hopefully, right? So that way I could say, this is the Freemasonry that I want, because that's my group.
Mm-hmm.
And I would have picked that out very differently if I were to do it again today.
Nice. You hit the nail on the head for me.
Yeah.
And that's no shade to my mother lodge. I love them, but like they're probably, I'm in the Dallas area. There's a lot of lodges I could have gone to.
Yeah.
I didn't even know there was one. Like I'm literally between two lodges, like 10 minutes and 10 minutes. I didn't even know there was another lodge 10 minutes the opposite direction.
Right. Yes. That's a big disappointment, right? That we do these searches or whatever, and it's whatever lodge is the first one that latches onto us, or that we get a hold of that latches onto us, and then we think that's Freemasonry. Yeah. And I think that's a very fair statement to make on your part as well, because I feel the same way. I think that I was in a good lodge. Don't get me wrong, but the lodge is still an outstanding lodge, but it's not really. It wasn't at the time. It wasn't as deeply esoteric as what I wish it had been.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of it's like going to like a car lot. Right?
Yeah.
You don't. No one goes to one car lot. Most people don't. They don't go to just one car lot and just like, that's the car I want, wrap it up. They go to other car lots and look at their options before they really decide what they're going to do. It's in the car lot has no interest in telling you, hey, you might want to check out that one down the road just to see if they're going to work with you better, right? And I think as lodges we have to stop acting like car lots, right? We need to say, look, there's a lodge here and a lodge here. I suggest you visit all of them, because car lot you just drive off the premise and it's a done deal. But the lodge, they keep coming back, or they should, and so you want to be sure that they're at a place where they are finding what they're looking for. Not just buying the first car at the first place that they see. And I think that's what a lot of people do with lodges. We just assume that there's only one nearby and we go to it. Well, that's Freemasonry. That's what it is. And my answer is very similar. Is like, if I had known that my lodge or most of Freemasonry was a service organization, I would have never got involved. It was, I knew my dad was and my granddad was, and I had just watched National Treasure, and I had high expectations. And I kept thinking,
we all?
Yes.
After we saw National Treasure,
and I kept thinking, well, they're just waiting to show me this or show me that, or any day now. Never happened.
And Franklin's bifocals, right?
Yeah. I'm still waiting. So. And just me at that age, I would not have joined. In my very early 20s, I just was not a patient person. I would have never got involved if I knew that's what it was. I'll say never. I might have later in life, but I still would have been disappointed because it's not what I thought.
It's interesting. I had a conversation with a guy the other day, and they asked something about degree fees and stuff like that. We were talking, and I said, well, I was talking to my boss, as a matter of fact, and now he's not going to join. He's just naturally curious, but we're talking about it. He said, so how much does it cost? I said, well, it depends on which lodge you go to that I'm a member of. I mean, I have one that is $100 per degree, and I have one that's $200. It's 100, it's 250, and then 250 or something like that. Then I have one that's 250, 250, and 500 for a total of 1,000. He said, wow, that's a lot. I said, yeah, it is a lot, but we do a lot more at that lodge than the other lodges, and our expectations are a lot higher as well for the people that join. And so we're letting you know up front that there's an expectation that comes with the fraternity, whereas some of these other lodges, people join and they're just not getting fulfilled. And the reason why is because there are no expectations for the rest of the brothers to continue going and to continue showing up and providing for the lodge and supporting the lodge like it should be. I said that just happens. So that's a very fair thing that you wish you had assessed lodges, because I know when I just looked for the one that was in the town that I lived in.
Well, I think to your point on degree fees, the question is, are you wanting to pay to be on a roster somewhere, or are you wanting to pay to be a Freemason?
Yeah, exactly.
And it's a big difference. And a lot of these lodges are just keeping it low just to encourage people to join, regardless if they're a good fit or not. And then the ones that charge more, you get more value out of it.
Yeah, and and to be honest with you, where do I spend most of my time? Where it costs more money.
Yeah.
And it's not because I feel like I'm an elitist, but because that's where we're providing more value.
Yeah.
It's not just the same, and it's not just a bunch of clubs meeting at the lodge doing the same exact thing with a different hat on saying this is Freemasonry. This is actually a different type of setting that I'm a part of in those lodges. Go ahead.
There's a question in chat. I think it would be interesting.
Well, give me just 1 second, because now on that same note, there's a guy who's been going to different lodges and looking around and kicking the tires, seeing what these lodges are about. And there are several brothers now that have been talking between each other, saying, "Oh, this guy's come to this lodge and this lodge and this lodge." I think he's just trying to go to the first lodge that lets him in or whatever. These guys already signed a petition for him, but he's actually, wanting to join this lodge over here. And I'm thinking, dude, is that a bad thing? because these guys over here, I wouldn't want to be a part of their lodge, and he's going over here. So maybe that's a good thing that he did go to these other lodges. So I don't know, man. I hate to talk bad about, you know, Freemasonry. You can't. The things that I'm talking about is not a generalized statement at all. These are specific things that I'm talking about when I'm saying that, you know, these lodges don't perform like, you know, other lodges I belong to.
Well, this
There's
is
a lot of great lodges out there. Don't think that all lodges are, you know, what I'm saying right now.
Well, this isn't what most lodges do. And so when you get a guy that's going around kicking the tires, they're like, what is this guy doing? Why is he going there after he's been here? And human nature, unfortunately,
Why would he be
assuming the worst.
inquisitive?
Yes. Yeah. What do inquiring minds have to do with this fraternity?
And a lot of that, I think, is like the mindset, right? It's the mindset of we used to be the only game in town, or you know, I'm used to people coming here and they only do this. They aren't, to expound upon the metaphor of the car lot. They aren't used to somebody going and shopping around. They aren't used to somebody going online and doing research and saying, this is what this looks like. This is what this looks like. This is what this looks like. Oh, you know, I want this out of what I'm buying, out of what I'm investing in. This is what actually I want. They're used to somebody just coming in and going, well, this is the only thing I can find, so this is what I get.
Yeah.
I'm going to get the 1989 Pontiac Fiero.
Hey, man, there's something to be said about the Fieros.
Hey, there is something to be said about the Fieros.
Besides the fact that they caught on fire, the engine was known to catch on fire, which happened to me one time.
But if you're thinking you're buying a 92, you know, Toyota Camry that's going to run for, you know, 1.5 million miles, and you get the Fiero instead, you know, it's like, dang it.
But it's a Pontiac.
Well, I mean, I guess if you're the only car lot in like 200-mile radius, people just go and buy whatever.
Yeah.
So the question in chat that I wanted to hit on, talking about doing research and things like that. The question is, it's OTW Live, and is it possible to know the secrets of Freemasonry without being a Mason?
I don't know. I don't think so.
There's
a lot that goes into it. That you can. It's just like having a bunch of raw data thrown at you. You can have all the data that you want to, but until it's in the right context, it's not going to be the correct data.
You think the Freemasonry kind of offers a way of processing it?
Yes, it absolutely does.
Dennis, I was going to say, you can get all the information you want, but it's the lens that you look at it through, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
When you look at it from the experience of having gone through the degrees, the lens completely shifts and changes. It's you are a changed person. The way you look at it has changed, and that changes your understanding of it. It deepens the understanding.
Yeah. There's a part of one of the Scottish Rite degrees that, and I won't get into specifics or anything because I've been talking about it a lot, but it basically says, you know, Freemasonry doesn't have we don't have sole ownership of any of the mysteries or concepts or anything that exist out there. It's all out there. It all exists out there. There's nothing. I would argue that there's no teachings in Freemasonry that can't be found elsewhere. But the rites of passage that we offer, I mean, you could even read about them, but they have to be experienced and they have to be explored in their context, because it could be argued that there's even like a symbolic preparation in the degrees themselves to receive certain types of information. So I think the context of the secrets is there and it can be found by anybody. But like Dennis is saying, like without the rites of passage and without the mentorship and the tried and true methodology that Freemasonry offers, I don't think it can be understood in the context of Freemasonry.
There's a lot of information out there, even dealing with the rites of passage, our degree work and all that. Some of it's true, much of it's not true, and you're not going to know what is true if you're not a Mason, and no Mason's going to tell you what's correct or not until you join. So
Yeah, that's true. What do you got, Jason?
So, kind of going back to Dennis's question, if there was anything I know now that would have made me not join, um, not at the time that I did join, but I would say probably in my early years. I'm talking about teenage through probably early 20s. Um, I was pretty dogmatic in my Christianity. In other words, I've talked about this in numerous different places. I grew up in a fundamental independent Baptist church, and they take a very strict interpretation of the Bible and teach that that's the one and only way, and that's the only way you should look at it. And anything even remotely occult or esoteric or anything like that was to not be um, you should not mess with that. That's from the devil and all this kind of stuff. So I think I probably if I had pursued it, I probably would have joined. But had I known that there was this aspect of Freemasonry that could be explored, and not everybody does, but that there was this whole esoteric, mystical part of it, um, I probably, I probably either would not have, or I would have been a lot more reluctant to join. Um, as I got older, I kind of became disillusioned with uh, with the Baptist church in particular, especially independent churches, because of. So I apologize for this being a little bit longer explanation, but
No, I'm just laughing because it's when you became disillusioned with church that you joined Freemasonry.
yeah,
So for all you heathens out there, we're your place.
yeah,
Come on in.
right,
We're
yeah.
the doors are
Well,
open.
well, what made me become really disillusioned is so when I went to kindergarten, I went to the Faith Baptist Church in Jacksonville, Florida. There, they had an entire academy, um, and I so that's where I went to kindergarten. And the pastor there, of course, he was also he's also the head administrator, all this kind of stuff. And I, so he had a very distinct look about him, and the way I can compare it is to the old Superman show, the black and white one from like the 1930s or 1920s or 30. Anyway, the original Superman show. He
60s,
maybe
50s,
I
maybe.
don't remember whatever the
Okay.
old dope Superman show. Anyway, he kind of looked like that. So I that's in my 5-year-old mind. That's who I envisioned was this guy who was the head of this church, head of my school, and he kind of looks like Superman. Like that's how I looked at him. Like this guy could do no wrong. And when I was in my early 30s, it came to light that he had left the church about 10 years before to be a missionary in Germany. And the reason he had is because they had found out that he had been molesting little girls. And so he underwent church discipline and basically got shipped off to Germany. So, and in my mind, part of the reason, and this is a little bit of kind of bigotry on my part, is this is all around the same time that the Catholic Church is having problems and this like that. And I always thought, well, you know, we in the Baptist Church, I mean, that I just could never see that happening in our churches because we just don't spend that kind of time in church, and they don't have that kind of secluded time with priests and stuff like that. And it turns out this is actually absolutely not the case. So I mean, I there was good time in there, like I completely rejected any kind of organized religion whatsoever, because the guy that I always thought of in my mind as there was Jesus, and then there was this guy, and like that guy, and to find out that that guy, and more than likely, it may have been some of the very girls that I went to kindergarten with, and so I kind of became disillusioned with basically just about all organized religion and everything. And it was, I mean, I didn't join Freemasonry until a good, 10, 15 years later, but it was one of those things that kind of opened my mind to think like, you know, maybe there's more out there that I don't know, that I had been kind of rigid in what my beliefs were. There were some things that I questioned growing up. I never really believed that the story of Genesis was the actual beginning of the world. I think I always thought that I never thought that the world was only 6,000 years old. I always had a different picture in my mind on how that could happen. But for the most part, it really was. I fully embraced the literal part interpretation, and then when that happened, like I said, I kind of rejected all of it, and then I kind of I've come back, and then I've gotten all now to where obviously I study and I teach and I do all this stuff with Masonry now. But I had, again, in my early 20s, I would have probably probably would have thought twice about joining, had I known that there was this aspect of Freemasonry.
That's a very valid point, because that's one of the things that prevents a lot of people from joining Freemasonry, is that, well, and that's also what gives all the conspiracy nuts the ammunition in their head to say that we're evil, and we're just not high enough in our rankings to see the evil yet, the great evil, because we're willing to think something besides the dogmatic philosophies of this organized religion, as opposed to us just pursuing different philosophies and theology that has existed throughout the ages, from the sages, I should say, because really damn near every religion, if you take a true and honest look at every religion, the stories go back to what they were learning in the caves and stuff like that from the different sages, because they're good moral philosophies. They're good moral and ethical allegory that teaches an honest lesson in how to be a good human and a man.
Yeah.
And so how can you argue with that?
I think most religions have the same teachings, just different lore. And I think it's the lore we get caught up in. Most religions agree that, and I'm talking most, like 99.9% of them agree it's wrong just to murder people. You probably shouldn't steal from people. Don't cheat on your wife. Don't, things like that. These are all concepts that are pretty, lying is bad. We can all agree to that. These are pretty universal in most religions. It's just,
now, was cheating on your wife really a thing back then?
Maybe I was even, well, I was
think
thinking
that one was added in there somewhere. I think some woman was standing over some guy that was writing the 10 commandments, and she is lording over him, and she is like, and
well, I was kind of thinking in context of 10 commandments, but then after I said that
thou shalt not have just one woman, and then it said thou shalt not have any other woman. That's how it turned out.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking 10 commandments as I was saying that, but it's the lore we get caught up in. It's the lore we fight wars over. But overall,
Yes.
the teachings, the core concepts, they're universal.
It's it's interesting that you say that, because it is the lore and the culture that we've always fought wars over. That's what was the difference between the Saxons and the Britons and the oh my goodness, and the Danes and the Nordics. I mean, that was it was all just over culture. They still had a lot of the same principles, but they all had different cultures.
Mm. Good point.
Well, then again, the Nordics and the Danes, I mean, they did, conquer lands for the gold and stuff, because they were in too cold a climate to really produce much. But other than that, the pillaging and all that kind of stuff, the religions themselves were very similar.
Yeah.
In nature.
Go
ahead.
I was gonna say we got the Winding Stairs podcast in our chat this evening.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Thanks for coming on.
They
Glad to see you.
Say they're more into disorganized religion, and I was like, yeah, I think that's how it was meant to be. I think once we started trying to organize it, yeah, we try to compartmentalize our lore, and that's when it starts getting to be a problem. Not only is it the same teachings, but with different lore, then people are like, yeah, but this take on the lore is the right way. No, this take of the lore is the right way. I have a little side story added to the lore. You better believe that.
Well, what's crazy is the paradox that we're in today. So back when religion really started taking shape back in the day, it was all about controlling the people, having the power. Because if you controlled God, you had the power. And now, so that box that you put the people in was very important. Now the people are putting God in a box and saying that God has to be this certain way to match this lore or this culture or this religion. God has to be in this box, otherwise I'm not comfortable with it. And that kind of goes to with what Jason was saying, that he, if it wasn't this way, it was the highway as far as his church upbringing. And that's exactly right. People get so dogmatic in their thinking that, if God is anything but what they think God should be, it's not God. Then it's black magic. Then it's witchcraft. Then it's whatever, inner phrase here. I mean, there's been 1,000 of them over the ages, but.
Well, we all know of stories that are not necessarily religious, but they're meant to taught they're meant to have like a life lesson in them.
Oh yeah.
And I think that's where a lot of the context of the religious books comes from is, yes, killing is wrong. Here's a story that the elder made up, giving you an example, or maybe it might even be like a real example, something that they experienced. But the thing with stories is they're retold time and time again. And I mean, I've told a lot of stories, and as time goes by, things get added, things get omitted, the stories change, but stories are used all across the world. It's just the way the human brain works. If you just say don't go around lying, it's bad, it might take, it might not. But if you have a story, what was the story? The boy who cried wolf, right? If you have a story and it gives you like something that's memorable, and you tell it to a kid, and they're like, oh, they won't think lying is bad. They'll think about that boy that cried wolf, and they realize, oh, that's why I shouldn't lie. And so in every culture, you have these universal truths, but they have different stories that they use to tell. This is why you shouldn't do this. This is why this is bad. And over time, they get codified. They get put on these pedestals as these stories that have been told for generations. So there has to be real historical significance to it, which may or may not have some historical significance, but unlikely. Any story, I don't care. Like, I know there are people that believe that like the Bible is divinely inspired, but it's based on stories that were told from oral tradition for thousands of years. You can't tell me that story you put in the book is the same story that either actually happened or how it originally started when it was first told. And so these stories are originally told, and so that's why you have this different, going back to that lore, that's why you have these same truths but with different lore, different parts of the world, because that's how we learn. That's how we pass on our beliefs and our culture, is through stories. Humans are very, that's why we have movies. Movies are stories. That's why we have plays. They're stories. Even the songs we listen to, they're stories. Well, the good ones are stories. They have a beginning and an end, that there's something imparted through it.
There was one of the things that Zig Ziglar taught on. Y'all all know that I love Zig Ziglar, or he didn't necessarily teach on it, but he did mention it, that we are a byproduct of what we put into ourselves, and that's why it was so important to him that you continue to put good things into your mind, and good ethical ways and moral and ethical ways of selling and being a salesman, and making it a good product, and not just a gimmick or whatever. And one of the things that he mentioned was that being a product of what you put into your mind, when someone is lost into pornography or something like that, if you see some movie, insert movie title here, right, or some flick, insert this flick here. Let's say you watch it 3 to 5 times, that becomes etched in your memory, and that becomes part of who you are and what you think, because you've put it in there so many times that it's almost like muscle memory on if you want to change a habit, it just takes 20 days or 30 days or whatever. Within a month you can change a habit, any habit, no matter what it is, through repetition. Same thing. If you continue to put certain things into your system through your senses, that's going to become who you are. So if you think that you like the Judge Judy, guess what? You're going to have that kind of drama in your life all the time. If you watch the murder mystery crap all the time, that's the way you're going to think, is the way those murder mysteries. And that's not for the better either. That's because all of those are focused on, touching on the negative parts of your personality that are easier to attach to. And so
you're saying all those hours spent watching Jerry Springer when I was in high school were
my gosh,
poorly spent?
Yes, that's probably why we're on the show today. And that's probably why you wanted me to be your co-host.
Maybe.
Dennis.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. What were we saying? Well, I didn't.
But anyways, it's that's in essence, that's all I got to say about that. But if you listen to a certain kind of music all the time, that's kind of what your personality is going to shape into. I had an age of the Beatles. I had an age of death metal. I had an age of country. I've had an age of and in each one of those times, and you've seen the picture of me with my long hair. In each one of those times, man, I've just kind of morphed into that person, and then I morphed right back out of it. The cool thing about being open to different concepts is you can do that, right? But not everybody does. And so that's the scary thing. Glad you made it out on this side, Jason.
One of us. One of us.
Yes.
I count my blessings every day.
Yes.
You look very enthusiastic.
He was counting.
I almost sent Jason it was a like one of those ugly sweaters, and it said, "Oh, this is totally going on a spreadsheet or something like that. It's like, I was like, I better not send it to him.
I
He
would
might
have
buy it.
reimbursed you for that. Man, that's funny.
You say that, but they are a good way to organize things. So
He's a man's man. His world is square. He's just like waffles. It's all about waffles for him.
Do you have a spreadsheet with all your spreadsheets?
I'm not going to tell you what all I have spreadsheets for, but it is mind-boggling.
The simple answer would have been no if you didn't.
Oh, that's funny.
Oh crap, dude.
I'm just going to bring us back to what Dennis was talking about prior before roasting Jason.
There we go.
You talk about the what your inputs are, right? And there was actually a recent science thing that talking about, you can Google this up, right? But cells, how they hear and how they alter based upon the vibrations that they receive. And
yes.
like if you're listening to a certain music, it changes things. If you're saying certain words, it changes things. And I mean, you could go back to the three initiates, right? Who wrote the book?
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Talking about vibrations. You can think about that from music point of view. I mean, I remember the song "Loser" by Beck. Right. That song is stuck in my head. Now, I'm not saying I'm a loser, but I'm saying, when it comes up in my head, that's the words I say to myself. That definitely affects me in a certain way.
I just have to hear it, yes.
Because of the thoughts in my head. That's what's going through my head. It's like, man, how much different is it like if we're listening to Beethoven, or we're listening to some nice jazz, or something that's uplifting and giving you a positive message, right? Like, that's the soundtrack of your life. And that can change you on a frequency and a waveform and intensity.
Oh yeah, dude.
How you feel. I mean, think about moods, right? Just even listening to certain music, like, there's a reason why it's called like you have your workout music and your pump up music, right? Or your walkout music in wrestling or fighting, right? It's like, there's a reason why, because you want to feel that way. You want to feel that in your body, and your body, right? You recognize that, and it changes that.
Well, if I'm in a good mood and I'm driving, just cruising by myself, and Johnny Cash "Hurt" comes on, I can't not sing it, and I can't change it, but I feel terribly, like, totally, my vibe is totally brought down by the time I'm over. Like, I'm sad after I've done listening to that. And there are certain songs like that. Like, you can listen to them and it just brings down your mood a little bit. But also, like, when I was way younger, like, I was pissed off all the time. I was an angry young man. But I listened to, like, Godsmack and Disturbed and all these bands, and it's like, now they'll come on. It's like, no wonder I was pissed off all the time. Like, I don't even like to listen to them now. But yeah,
man.
But
you're talking about a guy that has the collector series with the black box for Metallica. Golly, how can you say those kind of...
Metallica's not the worst. It's not the worst offender. But there are
they're not.
But there are some, like, I'll listen to Metallica if I'm in the mood. But there are some others like Disturbed, System of a Down. Oh geez, there was one where they wore like mask all the time. But there's just so many bands, like, in the late 90s, like, they're just so negative. And
you mean the Insane Clown Posse?
Yes. That's what it was.
That's the name. There we go. I knew who you were talking about. I just couldn't remember what the name was. It was a little bit later, a little bit younger than me, but yeah, that's awesome.
But you're absolutely right. They've done studies, and I don't know if they've, like, replicated it or not, but because that's the thing.
I watched a video one time. Go ahead.
Okay.
You go ahead and finish yours, and I'll start mine.
No, I was just gonna say where they have, like, they froze water with, like, different levels of vibrations, like different types of music, and the structure of the water itself is totally different than just, like, because there's always controls. You always have, like, an independent variable that's just or not not an independent variable, like a control. That's just water with no vibration, just frozen, right? And so the water with like the negative vibrations, things we would associate with negative, it's like you look at it under a microscope and like at an atomic level, it's chaotic. But water, the way water is very unique. It's one of those rare things that like it's the reason that life exists. It's able to exist. And so water has a very unique pattern under neutral circumstances when it freezes. That's why it's less. Water is one of the only things that's actually less dense as a solid than it is as a liquid. That's why it floats. But so it's very chaotic with certain vibrations. But if you play like Beethoven and stuff like that, very orderly, very clean. Yeah, very soothing. I even read where they did similar things where they just
very white.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Where they just took like jars of water and just put, instead of even like exposing it to vibrations, like what we would associate like as vibrations, they just taped basically pieces of paper onto the jar with positive and negative sayings, like these negative affirmations and stuff like that. So not even things that we would associate as vibration. Like you can measure the vibration that comes out of like Megadeth.
Dude, that's a little bit too far fetched for me, but if you say so, I mean that's a little.
I'm just saying, I don't know if it's been a
little California for me. I don't know, man.
I don't know if it's been replicated, but
something I do know what has been replicated is different vibration as far as tones. There was a composer that does music for movies and stuff like that, and he was on with his it was either a 7-string guitar or a 7-string bass, but I think it was a guitar, and he played a couple of notes and showed positive notes or whatever, and then he strummed some negative notes. He said, look, at this frequency you feel like death is coming, and sure enough, man, he strummed it and it's like, oh. And he said that's the tone that you hear right before a suspenseful certain person's going to get axed in every movie. That's the art of the movie composers. That's their whole thing, is understanding frequency and putting it into the choreography of the sounds that they do, and it was just very eye opening on how the vibration of music just really gets you.
Well, the U.S. military has actually weaponized that. I mean, this isn't like some hocus pocus stuff.
I know that. Yeah,
where it's like it feels like
I don't remember sound wave technology is what it is.
Yeah, it
and
creates
they'll shoot it across the ocean.
It either creates like a feeling of dread, or it feels like I don't know. But
you're talking about just what they're doing to psych people out?
No, it's called like non-lethal deterrent, and they can use it on like riots and stuff. And it's just like, it looks like a giant spotlight, but it doesn't shine a light. They just point it, and people just like the vibrations from it. It's kind of like if you ever go to a zoo and you see like a lion, and lion does like this deep. It's not roaring. It's like a deep guttural noise.
Mm-hmm.
And your body's just like, oh crap. It's kind of the same thing where it's almost like a fight or flight reaction, and people typically just disperse. Sorry, Jason, what do you got?
No, just talking about because I've told the story when we did the Kabbalion back for the Scottish Rite CME, but to me on a practical level, I have experienced actual being able to feel something. And interesting enough, if you're talking about water and stuff like that, it was when I was a dive instructor in Hawaii. So one of the places on the island, all of the buoys were actually submerged. They're about 10, 15 feet underwater. So what you would do is you'd come up, someone would jump in, hook the boat up underwater, and then You come up to the surface, everybody goes diving. Well, at the end of the dive, usually you have either an instructor or a dive master or whoever, but somebody stays in the water at the buoy and watches everybody get up on the boat. And once everybody's up on the boat, you unhook the boat, boat starts drifting off, you go up to the surface, boat comes around, picks you up. Anyway, so I'm the guy at the buoy watching everybody um, climb up the ladder. And so I'm sitting there watching, and then all of a sudden, like I just felt like I needed to turn around quickly. And sure enough, I whipped around 180, and about a 12-foot tiger shark comes drifting by. And like to me, it was just it was proof that this whole issue about whether so that's on a practical, I think that was probably part of like kind of your defense mechanism is that you can kind of feel that there's potential danger somewhere, um, and stuff. But at the same time, you can expand on that, and you talk about the words that you say, they can actually have an impact. Your mood can affect other people and stuff like that. So I absolutely agree with that. And then just last week, so some of you probably saw I posted that my son finally got medically qualified for
The peanuts,
ROTC,
yes.
peanut allergy and stuff like that. Well, I mean, this has been
Hopefully they did that with payday bars, man. That's a good way to do it.
I think it was Snickers, but anyway, it's pretty close. But but this is something that's been going on for years, and it's obviously it's been weighing on myself, my son, our family. Has been weighing on our minds, and we're waiting for word to come in, and he's done all this, and it's a big deal because this is what he wants to do. He wants to be an Army officer and all this kind of stuff. And the week before, his birthday was coming up on October 22nd. And there was something telling me that we're going to find out on his birthday. I don't know what it was. I can't prove it. I didn't tell anybody else. But there was something telling me that we were going to find out. And sure enough, the middle of the afternoon on his 20th birthday, we find out. And I think it was I really believe that there is something that we are all connected, whether it's through energy, whether it's through electrons, whether it's through electricity or whatever it is. But I think at some point, especially when there's bigger things that are weighing on your life, that you can actually feel when something, the negative, positive is going to happen. And I like I said, it was just it was proved to me again, because there was something just telling me that we were going to find out something, and I really had a feeling, and obviously it's kind of intuitive, based off of some other information that we had, but there was something just intuitive telling me he's going to find out on his birthday, and it's going to be good news, and
Nice.
and it was. So
That's good.
yeah.
Nice.
That's good to hear.
I tell you what, I going back to Zig Ziglar and all that, I used to listen to him a lot when I was in the transmission industry. Um, there's two times, two of the hardest sales in in the world is trying to sell that first date and trying to sell a transmission. And I tell you what, man, I listened to Zig Ziglar a lot during those times, and I believe that it was all that positive influence that I was pumping into my brain that helped me to be the person that I am today, but even more directly, the successful business person in the transmission industry that I was. back then. I had gone from being a mop boy at the age of 19 to owning my first transmission shop at the age of 28. And it wasn't just any transmission shop. It was a shop that cost $750,000. And then a couple years later, I had 3. So I think there's something to be said about that, because I didn't do it in a negative way of tricking people into doing the job, right? I did what he was talking about. And one of my favorite stories is, you can have anything, that you want in life. One of the things that he would always say is, you can have anything in life that you want. You just have to help enough people get what they want first. And I truly believe that. And I always tried to help all those people get what they were wanting. And it came back to me tenfold, thousands of times fold. It came back to me. And I attribute it to putting positive influence into my life.
Yeah, we talked a lot about like the negative impact of like vibrations, but positive vibrations, that's a thing. And that doesn't get, like, if you look at the Lord's Prayer, for example, the Lord's Prayer is all about acknowledging the good and thinking the good, and it's not like when Jesus talked about like the ideal prayer, it wasn't about focusing on the negative or making a big deal in front of people and things like that. And the reason I say that is because that's kind of the OG as far as like positive affirmations, I guess. Especially if you look at like the more literal translation. Me and Dennis talked about this, I think maybe just ourselves.
Yeah,
like the actual literal translation of the Lord's Prayer as opposed to what's in the King James version. It's very new agey, and I think that's why, because it was, if you speak positive intentions, and if you are grateful for the things you have in your life, and you don't focus on the negative. You focus on the positive, and you ask for the good things, and the good things, and focus more on what you want and what you need, as opposed to what you feel you are wronged about and what you don't want, yada yada, all that stuff. And that goes a long ways. If you just listen to like people, not even talking about prayer, not even talking about communicating with divine or anything like that. If you listen, there's no successful person. You'll never come across a successful person that sits and gripes about the state of their life and the drama in their life and how they're a victim and yada yada.
There ain't no Jerry in any CEOs.
No, they're all
lives, not their families either.
They're all either unemployed or just like bottom rung or just constantly looking for jobs. And they might have like 5 kids with 5 different baby daddies or something, right? But they it's because they're always negative and they're always complaining and they're always complaining about the state of things. And so they are manifesting their own reality, and they're giving themselves more fodder for their negative worldview. They're making themselves victims.
Yeah, there's nothing more debilitating than a victim personality.
Yeah.
If you wanna hurt yourself, play the victim. If you want to kill your opportunity, play a victim.
Yeah. Things will never improve for you, but at least you'll feel justified because you feel like you're being unfairly persecuted.
I've often wondered if one of the reasons why, I don't know if y'all are aware, but as you get older, you can hear the higher pitches better. That's why your papa's car was always, full blown treble, and you never heard a tone of bass in anything that he ever played on his radio or whatever. But you're just able to hear it better as you get older, the higher pitches. I wonder if that's why older people just seem happier, because they're just not not susceptible to the same darker tones in life.
Well, you either become happier or you become crotchety.
Yeah.
There's no middle
Once
of
it
the road.
becomes screeching.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, once that tinnitus kicks in, man, it's hard not to be crotchety. I'm telling you, I'm a victim of that myself. In the middle of the night when I'm trying to sleep and that's all I hear, it's tough.
Yeah, thanks, Jason.
Yes, that's it exactly.
Talking, hey,
In fact, I'm listening to it right now. That's the station I'm always in.
talking about Jason and that shark. So that thing that the lions do that I was referring to, that rumbling sound that you can feel, that's called infrasound. So ultrasound is like high pitched. Infrasound is low, like lower than you can hear, but you can your body's like reacts to it. Sharks use that.
Cats have a growl like that too.
They do.
Yes.
They actually use it to. Cats use sound to manipulate humans, and I will die on that hill. But but sharks use infrasound to find prey, and so your body's reaction to like, hey, you might look, you might check your six. That's because your body knows. Like, okay, there's something looking for prey, and it's behind
I am fresh meat.
Yeah,
and a lot of times, in doing that, the vast majority of the time, why particularly scuba divers do not have issues generally with it was very unusual for a tiger shark to come in that close.
Mm-hmm.
You very rarely see sharks while you're scuba diving, mainly because it's the sound of your the exhalations,
Mm-hmm.
and because when you are underwater and the scuba gear and you're breathing in and out and stuff like that, they're very, very loud, and it makes sense because that it disrupts in particular large predators from using that, because they're getting all this extra noise coming back at them.
Mm-hmm.
And everything. So that it makes sense that they use that, and anything that would disrupt it they would stay away from that, because
That's why Darth Vader had that.
Mm-hmm. That's why sharks never mess with them.
So he could deflect. Yeah, so he could deflect the force. That's what it was.
Keep those positive vibrations away.
That's the esoteric portion of the night. You're all welcome. Didn't mean to kill the conversation. Sorry. That was probably what we needed to jump into something else. But I love the topic though, because I do believe in vibration and not just in the sound wave, but in feeling, just in the atmosphere. You can feel a positive charge in the atmosphere. I mean, that's why the Colosseums, I'm sure that's why the Colosseums were always such a big deal. The same thing with Sunday night football, right? Football games, or even wrestling or whatever. I don't even really enjoy wrestling that much. Wrestling.
Wait, Dennis, did you just say wrestling or wrestling?
Fuck yeah, I grew up in the 80s, dude. So I don't even enjoy it that much anymore. But
back when they were all on cocaine.
Yes. But even if I'm in the same arena as all the pumped up meth heads that are watching the show, I'm gonna feel that energy, right? And even back in the days,
it might just be a contact high, dude.
It might be on meth, I'm sure. Yeah, I doubt they're smoking meth in the arena. It's not like going somewhere and smelling weed everywhere.
Yeah,
people don't just smoke meth anywhere.
Maybe.
but anyways, so
and there goes the YouTube ratings.
Exactly. There went everything. Now we're gonna show up on every algorithm.
That's how we'll
just trying to get us there.
That's how we'll open the video. You don't just smoke meth anywhere. And then just
yes. Yes. All right. So but I'm sure there's some truth to that in the Colosseums, the energy that the Colosseums would create, and it made the people happy. that way, and therefore they love the emperors. They love the, oh my gosh, I can't believe I just drew it. They love Caesar because he kept them going in the Colosseums.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that there's a lot to be said about that.
Well, you got to keep people entertained.
I was thinking about that the other day, as a matter of fact, just driving down the road. One of those thoughts that I have, I was thinking about how, the reason pro sports are so important is it's the New Age Coliseum. Every one of them, hockey, football, all of those contact sports, it's the New Age Coliseum. And people they'll pay any cost to get a part of that energy. That's the energy they wish they had.
Well, even in Roman times, lots of towns had smaller, they weren't necessarily coliseums, but they had their own.
Well, which would be like the Octagon, right?
Yeah.
How it started, anyways. It started in the backyards, and then it became, a thing.
Yeah, and so like every town today, Texas at least, they got a big old stadium and Friday Night Lights,
baby. Yep,
it's a
That's
thing.
where all the money is.
Yeah, I mean other states, don't get me wrong, they have sports and everything, but like it's Texas football
ain't
is
the same as Texas.
Yeah. It's almost cult.
Oklahoma's a close second. Alabama is a close second, but there ain't nothing like Texas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but yeah, you take all the way and people get restless. The peasants start revolting if they get bored, and they learned that in Roman times. That's why they had the Colosseums. That's why they did what they did, and it's why we still do what we do. It's why public education doesn't get funded.
Yeah,
keep people stupid and entertained.
Right, exactly, because people thrive off the energy. No matter what somebody knows or doesn't know, they feel the energy.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're going to you can be manipulated with that.
Yeah.
That's why, when you're having problems in your relationship or whatever at home, you can just get close to the house and that negative energy just starts setting in.
Mm-hmm.
And it just compiles the problem.
Yeah. Well, even from a Masonic perspective, like if you do a lot of traveling and you go to some lodges, you can just walk in the door sometimes. You're like, oh, what's the deal here? Like everyone's kind of doing their own thing. They're huddled in their own little corners and just kind of looking up as you come in.
It's kind of, remember that show, the television show, Land of the Lost? And you had the slee sacks.
Was that the dinosaur show?
Yes, and you had the slee stacks that would stay huddled up all together.
That fish fry energy.
That fish fry energy, yes. Yeah, it's kind of like a bunch of people hanging out around the bonfire of the trash cans.
Yeah.
Anyways, but yeah, that's good stuff, man.
Mm-hmm.
But now let's go. Another thing that when you had walked away earlier, what was it that I was saying when he had walked away earlier? Golly,
I wouldn't gone that long.
I know you weren't, but it was done that long ago. That was an hour ago. So, there was something that I had mentioned. Well, you had walked away. It was something else that I'd been thinking about. Well, hell, never mind. It escapes me.
Hey, who are we interviewing this Wednesday?
Pete Norman.
Okay, because I got them mixed up. I was thinking Pete was last Wednesday. So when you messaged me,
no, you're right. No, Pete is this weekend, and we're gonna do
this Wednesday.
The Masonic Yacht Club. Yeah.
Okay.
Or Solomon's Yacht Club.
Got you. All right. I got mixed up.
For all you guys out there, it's really going to be a good show because it's basically talking about the bait and switch. He wrote a paper years ago. It got him into the Scottish Rite Research Society, as a matter of fact, and it was talking about Freemasonry and some of the lodges that are basically not really doing Freemasonry. If somebody joins a train club, they expect to talk about trains. They don't expect to talk about rocket ships. So
Or fish fries.
So we're going to have that conversation, which is going to be a great conversation.
It's always a great conversation with Pete.
It really is, because he's probably more controversial than you and I. And the guy is freaking smart, so you can't argue with him.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got a damn point on everything he says. He's just obnoxious on half the shit that he says. And I say that in the most loving way, because I love Pete. I do. There is nothing I like more than sitting down with
he might
Pete
come
and
on Wednesday,
hashing it out.
after listening to this.
There's nothing. I'm sure he doesn't, downgrade his mind with our stuff. But there's nothing. There's nothing I enjoy more than sitting down with Pete and just hashing it out over any given topic, because it's always going to be educational. It's always going to be fun. It's going to be spirited. And I really enjoy it.
The thing about Pete is you don't have to agree with everything he says, but you'll always learn something by listening to him.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Like I said, just like me or you or anybody else, he can be obnoxious as hell, but he's it is always a good time when we get together and talk with Pete. So that's going to be a good one, but it kind of falls in with a theme that I've been focusing on pretty heavily lately is getting back to the basics of Freemasonry and knowing who we are and what we are, and trying to do that instead of reinventing the wheel on who we are and what we are.
Mm-hmm.
Now we can reinvent the wheel on anything, administratively or whatever. I don't care. We need to reinvent the wheel on that and get into the technological era and take advantage of it. But as far as Freemasonry itself is, yeah, we should be focused on what Freemasonry is.
When are they going to release the, kind of off subject, I guess, but I was thinking, when are they going to release the candidates for January? Like who's running for what? Isn't that usually around this time?
Well, it comes with the registration hadn't even opened yet, which will be November 1st.
Yeah.
But it comes with the resolutions.
Got you. Okay.
Once the resolutions are all hashed out, then it'll go into print, and then the candidates will all be released to the world. It's
just been deceptively quiet. Like usually by this time of the year, we're like, Well,
that's because you've only got a couple of spots that are open, really. You've got the Grand Junior Warden, of course, which, we got Robert Park, who is going to come on the show, who has been on our show several times. We always have a good conversation with Robert. And then George Moxley and then John Wilkerson, all brothers. They're all making themselves available for the Grand Junior Warden. And then we got for the library and museum, they voted to no longer have that election, which is something I expect to see a resolution on this year, that we shouldn't fund them if we don't get to vote on the board. If they're appointing their own board, then I no longer want to fund them. I want to move. Sorry.
You want to
move. Love that building. Yep. I love that building, but I don't want to be a part of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not gonna.
Why would you this want people to vote for your board?
Yeah. When
of the blue, after all
when
this
we're
stuff.
the ones who are paying them every year and have been created the money that they had. No.
Yeah, because then you can appoint a board, and that board can hold the building over your head. It's like if we can't get voted into anything, we'll just appoint people.
That board can have the people that they want in it for the rest of eternity. It's no longer we the people. So they're controlling all the money in Texas, basically.
Yeah, it sounds like a quiet coup.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was.
Mm.
And so, yeah, there needs to be a resolution on that. I believe that there's going to be, but the going back to the people who would be running, Bradley Kohanke is making himself reavailable for the Masonic Charities Foundation.
Mm.
And so I think that's a good move. They've been working on a lot of good things for many years, and a lot of people don't realize that there's certain funds that go into all that you can't move them into another vessel or do something with them until they expire, until the time is up on something. And so there's been different levels of investitures that have not been shifted over to newer ways of doing things, and it's just a process that takes time, and a lot of it takes litigation as well. And so they've been working on and made some extremely positive moves over the past 5, 6, 7 years, but they've still got a long ways to go. And Brad has been a part of it for a long time, and I'd like to think that he's been a good steward and working hard towards that and making positive progress. So it only makes sense that he keep on trucking on that.
Yeah.
But right now he's one that I know that has made himself available for that. So it's easy for me to endorse him without being in trouble.
Is there any, as far as Grand Secretary, is there anyone running against our...
I hadn't heard anything yet.
Yeah.
There's going to be somebody.
Yeah.
Or wait, the time has expired. It may not, unless it comes from the floor.
Yeah. No, there's been nobody else declared.
Yeah, it has to come from the floor.
Interesting.
Yeah. I honestly don't foresee anybody. I think after last year they decided.
Yeah, they realized that it wasn't going to happen. Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
We're going in a positive direction. Things are going in a positive direction. I don't know why anyone would be, except for doing things like trying to take control of the library and museum, stuff like that.
Yeah.
They're trying to do it in different ways now instead of.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. I'm just jaded, so I was like,
we'll leave it there. Yeah. We'll stick a pin in that.
I put a pin in that. Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, it's been an hour and a half, unless we have anything else we wanted to bring up.
Bueller.
If not, we'll go into final thoughts. Jeff, Daniel, Tom, Jason, anybody? Yeah, we could do it.
That's your output. That's what I'll share.
What'd you say?
Be careful of your inputs, because that becomes your outputs.
Yes. There was a time, and okay, thank you for saying that. And I will say that there was a time when you and I,
you and Daniel?
Not Daniel. You and I, Justin, went through a pretty dark slump, and the stuff that we were putting out was pretty negative.
You talking about that ayahuasca trip in South America?
Yes. Because we were pretty frustrated with things, and we got pretty negative on our show, and it was kind of a turnoff for people, and I understand.
There were whole episodes that we never even published. Like he and I recorded. It's like
so many rants we just had to give.
There were like
never came out.
Like we started just doing episodes, and we ended up just like 45 minutes of just roasting what was going on, and we're like, I don't know that we could actually put this out.
We didn't even publish it to the Inner Circle guys. No, that's how bad it was, because we would have definitely got kicked out.
Neither one of us really cared at that point. We were so mad.
Yeah, we were fucking listening to Pearl Jam and Nirvana in our grunge clothes, So that is absolutely right, Daniel. Thank you for reminding us that we need to, not take the negative train.
Yeah, I agree.
Stay positive.
El Jefe, you got anything?
Nope, not tonight.
Tommy boy? Nothing. You should go let that slide, huh? Okay.
I like that one.
He'll give me crap for it later, I'm
Proud
sure.
if I were you, man.
Who? What?
He's dogging on your intellect, but
What?
I would be proud of that name, Tommy Boy. He was a good guy.
That was not. Wait, what are you talking about?
The movie. What are you talking about?
I thought you were talking about
Tommy
was it
Boy.
based on like someone from real life or something?
No, he was a
Okay.
dumbass in the movie, but he had a heart of gold.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. Tom's smarter than I am. It wasn't a dig at that.
And calling Tom a dumbass. God,
Wow.
man.
It didn't
That's
sound.
the way we're gonna keep our inner circle.
You made it
way
worse.
to keep it positive, Justin.
You made it
positively stupid.
Oh, wow. I don't need your negative vibes keeping me down right now. What do you got, Jason? I gotta turn the fan on in here. It's burning up. What do you got, Jason?
No, I think I've said enough this evening.
You say that every time.
Well, because I do say
What a
enough.
cop out.
Justin's going through menopause. now that his earmuffs are off.
Jason, you got to give one more plug for your for your
Yeah,
book.
give one more plug for your book, Jason.
So I have a book, The 12 Labors of Hercules in Freemasonry. It's a pretty light read, honestly. It's it would probably take you about an hour to get through it, but hopefully it provides a little different take on looking at not only the 12 labors, but kind of philosophical systems and how they relate to each other. And so I think some people seem to enjoy it, and so hopefully if anybody wants to, it is published through Perfect Ashler Publishing, which is Chris Galloway's publishing company. So I want to make sure he helped a lot with actually publishing the book and getting it out. So I want to make sure shout out to my publisher.
Which is somebody that we've had on the show as well. So
Yeah.
Daniel had a great suggestion. Justin, you ought to put that link in the description. But
Okay.
Chris Galloway that was disgusting. Chris Galloway had
a hiccup.
That sounded like a belch in my ear.
Oh no, I hiccuped. Sorry. Yeah,
So-
I'll find a link. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Chris Galloway was on our show, and we were talking about the importance of. It became a two-part episode. We were talking about the importance of education and Freemasonry and whatnot. And so, if you're wondering who that publisher was, that would be Chris Galloway, and that's who we were speaking with on our show with the Education Committee for the Grand Lodge, Texas. That was a great show. 2 great shows. I'm sure Pete's will end up being a 2-part episode as well, because we always talk forever when we talk to Pete. And every time we finish talking to him, it ends up saying, we got to do a show on that one now.
Well, then there's always the after show, which I probably should
Yes.
just record that, just keep that as a bonus for the inner circle.
Yes, you ought to, because that's always good.
Yeah, because last time we talked just as long after as we did during the show.
I know there's not anything controversial enough to get any of us kicked out this time, so we'll probably be okay if we do that.
All right, I put a link to your book in the show notes there, Jason.
Thank you, Justin.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate that.
You're a good listener.
Really, when he wrote about Hercules, he just wrote a biography.
I like those headphones, man.
I mean, perhaps.
Oh, these ones? Yeah, I had to the ones I usually wear are falling apart, so I had to fall back on these. They're shiny.
I was planning on they look professional.
Oh, do
I
they?
was planning on wearing my headphones tonight, and I didn't. I forgot that I had them charged up and ready.
I don't like these because so they have like
Have the
left,
cord.
right. Yeah, well, the cord's on the wrong side.
Distorted.
Like the red ones I usually wear are on the left side, so it just kind of wraps around nicely, and this is kind of in my way, but it be what it be, man.
Why don't you just flip them around? How do your ears know?
I know. My ADD knows. Okay. Anyway, final thoughts, I guess. Yeah, really, the main takeaway I think tonight is you have to be intentional in your life about what you want, and you know, I kind of took like a weird tangent because I don't usually talk about like religion or Jesus or anything, but I think I believe Jesus was a real person. I think he was way ahead of his time, and I think the things he was teaching were misconstrued because they were so way ahead of their time. And it's all about positivity, man. It's not like being like obnoxiously like Teletubby positive, right? You don't have to be like this isn't Sesame Street. I think a really, this is gonna sound really dorky, but this guy actually genuinely inspires me to be a better human. That would be Mr. Rogers. Like that was not an act. He was being himself on that show. And like, if you ever watch like any of his, there's like a really popular video where he like accepted a Grammy later in life, and it wasn't about him. He turned it back on the audience. Let's all take a second to think back about the people that brought us to where we are to be in this room, and just such a positive person. And I think that's the kind of guy we should all aspire to be. And I am the furthest from it, right? But it was all about, he's not listening to like Pantera on his way to work every morning, right? He's listening to something, whatever he's listening to. I mean, I know he's deceased, but like going to work, whatever he's listening to, you know, it's positive. You know, the things he's saying to people are positive. Anywhere you want to go in life, you get there by helping other people, right? And you could do that a few ways. You could do that by monetarily helping them, or just being a positive force in their lives on a day-to-day basis, because that is so helpful to people. We live in such a negative world, and when you're positive to people, and we've all seen that. Like we go to the gas station, and we, like the customer in front of us is just like turns around and just does something unnecessarily positive or nice for you, or the cashier is just unusually pleasant, nice to you. Where just this one-off thing like really makes our day. We can be that person as we go about. And I think as Freemasons, I think as men that are trying to build a better world, one person at a time, we can be a positive impact on the world even if they're not a Mason. We could just be that force for good in the world through our daily interactions. And so, it's all about vibration. And as we put that out into the world, that's what the world gives back. We lift each other up. We lift up our brothers. We lift up our neighbors, our family members. We help them just through positivity. And I mean, like I said, I'm the furthest person from that. Like I'm in that weird gap between Gen X and millennial. So I have have the naivety of a millennial and the attitude of a Gen Xer. So I'm just like one of the bastard children of the late 90s. But as far as generations go, but it's something we could all work towards. We don't have to really define ourselves by our birth date, if we're being honest. So that's really just kind of what I want to leave on. Like there's a lot of negativity in the world, and we can soak that in and let it impact us, right? I mean, this is a really very, millennials have seen a lot, and the younger Gen Xers, they've seen a lot, right? This has been a really crazy couple decades to be alive, and it's easy just to get wrapped up in that, right? Like we did a live a couple weeks ago where we're still pretty hot and heavy about the Charlie Kirk stuff, and it's. Don't get me wrong, it's terrible, but we have to I'm not saying be oblivious to the bad things. Like we have to acknowledge things that are going on, but we have to strive to be the positivity in the world. And I don't know what that looks like, right? Because when everybody's pissed off around you, I don't know how to be, because that energy's there and you're going to get pissed off. I don't know how to be that. Yeah. I mean, what would Jesus do? What would Mr. Rogers do? Right. Like how would you, okay. I don't know what you're saying, but how would you stand up and still be the lighthouse or the positivity in in a negative room. I don't know what that looks like, but, or maybe we just shouldn't be in the negative rooms. Maybe we should just, like talking about, don't listen to that negative music. But we shouldn't be in those negative rooms. We shouldn't be in those negative lodges or those negative churches. And they exist. So I just want to leave on that. Like it's a, what was your output matches your input, or maybe it was the other way, like Daniel said, but Daniel's son. But maybe
input creates your output.
Your input matches your output, and so
create your output.
Well, in regards to creation,
it doesn't necessarily match it. Usually it's exponentially, but your input creates your output.
We create our own world. We do, because your world's defined by how you perceive things. Your world's defined by what you see and what you hear and how you think. And you have complete control over how you think. It's hard. It's not always easy. But going back to like being a victim, if you talk negativity all the time and all you see is the negative in things, life sucks. It's a hard life because everything you perceive is the criteria for a hard life. But if you can look past that and see the good and share that good with other people and help them see the good in their lives, that goes a long way. So I'll just leave it at that.
The ripples, the ripples of the vibration of what you put out there. That's something I think about a lot of times is that when you have that input, throw that rock in the water, and they say that the ripples dissipate, right? And sure, over space it dissipates. However, the ripples just go. It's just a flood of whatever it is that input was, right? So it's hard to say that it doesn't impact whatever is going on exponentially. Everything we do impacts every bit of our lives exponentially. We just have to, once we realize that, then we need to learn how to focus in on what we're doing. I think one of the things that you had brought up just now was you don't know what it looks like. It's not being oblivious. You need to be aware. Well, the way I learned it was that, instead of looking at the negative things that happen in your life as negative, you look at them as opportunities. They're just stepping stones. And most successful people do look at every event as a stepping stone. I remember what I was talking about earlier. It was about the fact that, everything that happens in life it's just a series of struggles, right? Or a series of challenges. And so all you can do is fix that one and then move on to the next one. It's like I was talking about on working on that job the other day. And, all you can do is focus on the one in front of you, do the best you can with it, move on to the next one. And you learn from the things that didn't go right in that situation and use that as an opportunity, as a stepping stone for the next situation, because it's going to come. It doesn't matter who you are or what you are, it's going to come. And I think the difference between the CEOs and the more successful leaders out there in the world are that, they seem unaffected by anything that comes their way. And that's because they see it as exactly that. It's just the next challenge. That's all it is. It's not going to define me. What defines me is my inner drive that pushes me to complete the task and move forward. That's what defines me. The challenge itself, I'm not going to allow to define me. when you have that positive mentality, you really have no toleration for that negative kind of input coming into your life, like you were talking about earlier, that you don't like to listen to that kind of music anymore that drags you down. And I get that. I listen to death metal pretty often. I listen to jazz pretty often. I listen to everything pretty often. And every one of them puts me in a different mood and puts me in a different mindset. But every one of them, I also use them all as tools to think and to relate in different manners in my life.
Can I just
go ahead?
I just want to interject here that's why that ideally a lodge would be able to implement music in their degrees for the exact reason you're talking about.
Well, there's a reason why we're supposed to develop our five senses, right? Because those are our inputs. Those are the inputs for our output. So that's a reason why it's so important in Freemasonry to understand the value of the five senses, because that's our inputs. And so you're absolutely right. That is a good reason. I think that some of the argument is making sure that it's good music, that or at least the same music that goes into every degree, and not just a bunch of different music, which I can understand that too.
Mm-hmm.
So what I was going to say though is that I grew up in a world of lost emotions, and so I used music to really connect. It helped me to connect with myself and with others. And I think that if we look at different sources of input as tools in our belt to handle different situations and to deal and process, then life becomes a lot easier. I think it makes it easier to overcome the challenges that we're faced with. I think when we're narrowly focused on one particular belief or dogma, it prohibits that success, that potential success that we have. So if we look at all the inputs coming in as different tools to make ourselves better so that we can have a more positive outcome in the end, then who knows? Maybe we'll finally get to meet our maker someday. In some religions, they believe that we're in a constant cycle to purity, to where we'll be able to get to our maker. You won't be able to. That's the whole idea of reincarnation, right? So that you're reincarnated so that you can get to the next level of purity until you'll be worthy of the maker.
Well, some yeah, in some beliefs, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't say all. I said some. Yeah. So I think that there's some validity to that that should be our focus, is trying to become the best versions of ourselves. And I think as we get older, we were talking about, drowning out frequency or whatever, different frequencies affecting us when we were older. I mentioned it. But I think as we get older, I think we let a lot. That's why grandparents are such good babysitters. We let a lot more go than when we're younger. We don't hold on to every little thing that made us batshit crazy when we were, raising our own kids, where it's easier for us to be gentle. But I think that that's part of the process that's called wisdom, right? That's part of the process that we're all going through, and that, hopefully we all get to before we die. And I think that that's because they've realized the tools that work and the tools that don't. and they get to a place to where, you know, they can find joy in their lives as they get older, because they've learned those lessons. I feel bad for the people in life that, and I've met several, that when they get older, it's just hard on them. It's real hard on them. And I think it's because they didn't learn those lessons. They didn't hold on. They didn't realize that they had tools all around them that they could use. You can't blame anybody, because at some point you have to educate yourself, right? If you don't want to be a certain way, you got to do something different. Well, that's Freemasonry 101 right there.
Yeah.
If you don't want to be a part of the ignorant masses, you got to do something different. And hopefully, when it's all said and done, all the input that you brothers put into my life will create a great output for the rest of the world. And hopefully we're affecting, as a collective, we're affecting another generation of new Masons and helping them to understand where they are, and you know, that, yeah, they may not have came into a lodge that they're excited about or whatever now that they see that there's differences, but there are lodges out there, and there are brothers out there that they've been looking for. They're all out there. And even we have a lot of inner circle members that never show up on the screens here, but they're all over Texas, and they're affecting brothers all over the place. And just got to keep the faith, keep putting out the good stuff, because when you put out the good stuff, the brothers that you're trying to attract are going to be attracted to you. The brothers that believe in the same thing are going to be attracted to that good stuff. It's finding that output that was exponentially made by your input. I'm sorry, I started reading. My glasses are off, and so I was trying to read. And you can find it here on YouTube with us. And if you want more, join the Inner Circle. That was from one of our Inner Circle members. Sorry. I really should wear my glasses from now on. One of our Inner Circle members said, you know, and that's the truth. You do get more when as an Inner Circle member, and if you enjoy the show, you know, become a member, support it, help us live on. Other than that, we've got a dinner coming up at Grand Lodge. Grand Lodge is coming up. Registration starts at November 1st for all the Freemasons of Texas that are members of our grand jurisdiction, the AF and AEM of Texas, and Texas, Grand Lodge of Texas, AF and AEM. Let me say it correctly, or you're going to see some weirdo putting a website out there for everybody and their mother to join. Come register here, only $10,000. You'll get a free apron when you do. Maybe we ought to do that. We ought to just start a cult. We ought to just demit and start our own cult. Then we could get rich. Then we know all the secrets. So anyways, brothers, I really enjoyed myself. I really enjoyed this talk. And I think that we've seen great progress through the years on this show, and it's all because of you. I think that you guys make our show special.
Because of viewers like you.
This isn't PBS, man. This is, but I am for real, because, you know, otherwise you would just hear an echo chamber all the time of me and Justin, and having you guys on the show, it helps add more perspective to what we're trying to get across. And yeah, we do agree on most stuff, but we all have different perspectives on how we have run across it, or how we or different aspects of our lives that create the opportunities. So, friends, brothers, thank you for this chance to spend some time and learn a little bit more about Freemasonry, a little bit more about ourselves. And look forward to those opportunities. We've got lots of them coming, lots of opportunities. So look forward to them. Don't feel like every opportunity is a negative. Not every struggle is a negative. Some of it builds us up a little bit stronger every day. Otherwise, thank you for having me. Thank you, Justin, for being a part of the show. Keep it between the points.